So we're live on YouTube and Instagram. Let's press go live on Instagram. No, Instagram there. Yeah, good. So good morning. Gillian's here on Zoom as well. Tom, Sally. Oh, Gillian's all wrapped up there. Looks good. Today we're going to do a seated practice only because I have literally no room to do any movement here whatsoever. But I thought it's a good opportunity to focus on that whole idea of breathing light to get more oxygen, because it's one of the most challenging exercises when we're focusing on oxygen advantage, because it's not about breathing shallow, it's about breathing light but slow and deep. So we'll just have a little exploration of that. But we can do some movement to start off with, because it's always good to be able to do movement while you're seated, because you might be working at a desk all day long or something like that. So we're going to do some shoulder, upper back movement as well. So you're going to get your fingers together like that and find that space. You've got your collarbone there. Find the space where you've got your collarbone there, and we're sort of like anchoring the fingers in there. And then we're going to do, imagine you've got pencils on your elbows and you're doing big circles. Now use the spine as well, so use that upper back and relaxing the face, breathing easy, just very gently in and out through the nose. You may find that as you are opening up and extending, you're just doing a very soft breath in. As you're circling around, you're breathing out. I'm going to get some movement through the spine. If you're sitting, which hopefully you are, just make sure you're sitting on a nice stable surface so we can get that movement as well. And of course you can do this standing if you wanted to. Smooth and controlled. Let's do a couple more in this direction, then we're just going to change direction. So if you were going forwards, then go backwards first. Really feel that movement through the spine, upper back. Keeping the face relaxed so there's no tightness or tension or strain. Smooth, easy movement, smooth, effortless breathing in and out through the nose. Just very gentle, quiet breathing. And then just take a little rest, give your arms a little bit of a shake. And then we're going to come back to that same position, get anchored there underneath the collarbone. And then we're going to do paddling. Now here we bring that rotation into the spine as well. And if you're sitting on a surface, nice solid surface, you're almost like anchoring yourself down with your sits bones as well. Keep those shoulders down, so I'm not hoiking the shoulder up like that. I'm just doing big circles. Remembering the rib cage is attached to the spine, so we want to keep that spine strong but flexible. Let's go in the other direction, so just changing direction, really lifting the elbows as high as you can. Bring the space between the ribs, get those ribs nice and open, but again without forcing. Lifting the elbow, lift it over, and then take a rest. Give your arms a little bit of a shake out, give the shoulders a little bit of a shake. Let's do a few cleansing and clearing breaths. So physiological side, take a breath in, little top up, and let go. Nice way to change state. Let's just do one more breath in, top up, let go. And then just balance that out, just let the breath settle. Just bring your awareness to the air, just as it flows in and out through the nose. Let's do a little bit on the neck. Now again, just be careful with this. We don't want to create any pain or any tightness, or if you've got any injuries in the neck, but just some very gentle movements through the neck, which is great again for particularly the breath, the upper chest, etc. So imagine you've got about 2 inches above the crown of your head there, and you're going to lengthen the spine up, and then you're going to rest your hand on the crown of the head, and you're just going to take that ear to that shoulder. And what we're not doing is forcing a stretch. I want you to get to the point where you just feel that little bit of engagement there. It doesn't have to be a big movement. And then when you're there, just gently breathing. Face is relaxed. And in this position, I want you to imagine you're just aiming to bring your head back on top of the spine, but you've just got that little bit of resistance with the hand. So I'm engaging here, but I'm not turning the jaw or anything like that. Just engaging a little bit there to bring the head back on top of the spine. We're just doing a little bit of isometric contraction there in the neck muscles, just very gently. It's not about force. And then very slowly come back up. You're about 8 foot taller now. Swap sides. So again, pop your hand about 2 inches above. Then you're lengthening the spine up. It's really important that we lengthen up first. Rest the hand on top of the head, ear to shoulder. Just get to that point where it just starts to bite. Very gently there. And then when you're at that point, breathe into it for a little bit. Keep the shoulders down. Watch the chin doesn't come up like that or like that. And then imagine that you're aiming just to bring your head back on top of the spine, but it's just getting a little bit of resistance from that hand. So again, it's just tiny bit of resistance. We're just creating a little bit of isometric contraction there. Breathing, of course, breathing. And then slowly back on top. And again, just have a little shake out if you need a little bit of a shake out. If you feel you need a cleansing and clearing breath, cleanse and clear and let go. Now the idea of breathing light, and it's a question I get asked all the time when we're talking about oxygen advantage, is they'll say things like Wim Hof method is very much about over breathing or hyperventilation. Oxygen advantage is very much about breathing light, so they can't be compatible. they actually are compatible. It depends on the situation that you are in. So if you're doing a specific practice, like Wim Hof, where you're doing sort of like hyperventilation, long breath holds, there's a deliberate intention to that. You wouldn't be doing that all day long, because if you did that all day long, you'd literally be on the floor. So the principles of the oxygen advantage are the fact that we want to tune in so that we breathe just the right volume of air that we need for any given situation, any environment, and that's internal or external environment. So if it's a little bit hotter, you might breathe a bit differently. If you're exercising, you're going to breathe a little bit more air. If we're stressed, that's going to affect our physiology and how we breathe as well. So the idea of the breathe light is to sit on the edge where you're breathing the least amount of air that you need in a practice like this, without it tipping into that feeling of stress or restriction. And that's the key thing. It's easy to restrict the breath. How do you restrict the breath? You stop breathing. You do a breath hold. But we want to get into that very, very gentle flow state, but still feel calm and relaxed. And why that is because it means that we're really balancing out the oxygen and the carbon dioxide. So it means that we're getting good oxygen uptake from the blood into the cells. It helps to get us more oxygen. It helps us to oxygenate the cells when we're breathing efficiently. So I'll stop talking now. We'll do a little bit of practice. Seating, nice and tall through the spine. And to start with, relaxing into the face, relaxing into the brow, relaxing into or softening, however you want to conceptualize that, softening into the eyes, softening into cheekbones and jaw. And just resting the tongue on the roof of the mouth if that feels comfortable, tip of the tongue or whole tongue on the roof of the mouth. And just start by noticing the breath. So we're not changing anything here, just notice the air just as it flows in and out through the nose. How your body needs to breathe at this moment in time. We're going to play around with a couple of ways to get that sense of breathing light without it feeling stressful or without you feeling that you're running out of air. So the first thing is just to realize that we've got plenty. If you're healthy adult human being, you've got plenty of oxygen now in your blood. If you did one of those little pulse oximeter tests, you would have between 96 and 99% oxygen in your blood right now. So it wouldn't increase oxygenation if you start to breathe harder to try and get more oxygen in. It's like having a glass full of water and you're just trying to pour more water in. So just have that in mind. So psychologically, plenty of oxygen in the blood. Just tuning into that physical sensation of the air just as it flows in and out through the nose. And this is not about clearing the mind. So you might hear sounds, you might have thoughts coming and going. We're not trying to block anything at all. You're just having just a soft spotlight on the air just as it flows in and out through the nose. And I'd like you now just to really soften down into the center of the body, into the ribs, into the belly, into the hips. So just create that space without expanding the breath or anything, without breathing more air. Just soften into the body. Notice all the space in the ribs, all the space in the back. But still keeping that breath very light. And when we've created that space where we've softened into the body, just turn the volume down of the breath. So the volume as in the volume of air that you're breathing in. See if you can just breathe a little bit less air, but still keep it rhythmical, soft, effortless. So we don't want to hold, we don't want to create any tension. See if you can breathe just that little bit less air. And notice as you're playing around with that, if you find you start tensing, it might be the face, it might be the arm, it might be the shoulders. If you notice anywhere that tension arises, just soften into that space, relax into that space. If it starts to feel that you're getting air hunger, too much air hunger, just take a slightly bigger breath. The whole idea of this is not to feel that you have to control the breath or hold the breath or feel any excess tension. It should feel calming and relaxing. And then just counting, just following 5 breaths. So you can count 1, 1, 2, 2. Just follow 5 breaths. And when you've done that, we can take a slightly fuller breath. We can have a little stretch. We can have a little twist. I think it's interesting when you just spend that time. And I think one of the biggest things I notice, and every time I do it, is that when you start to soften and breathe less, the thing that needs to be really strong is the spine. Because if you're sitting and you can keep that spine strong without being rigid, you can soften into the body. If the spine is a little bit like this, or you're flopping down like this, then that's quite challenging. Now, there's nothing wrong. At some point in our lives, we have to sit like this. So it's not saying don't sit like this, and it's not saying sit like this all day long. But for this particular practice, the idea of long, tall spine, strong spine, nice and stable and connected to the ground, whether you're standing or whether you're sitting, and then you can suddenly go, oh, my breath comes deep, as in, whoa, found all of this space. Suddenly the breath slows without you trying to slow the breath. And you can breathe as light and slow and deep as necessary. As I say, breathing for whatever you're doing at that moment in time. Now, of course, if you're exercising or moving or speaking or working, you want your breath to be able to respond to, as I say, the environment and the situation. But for the practice, light, slow, effortless breathing, and then that'll help to reset the brain in a way. There's a way we can do now that is a couple of ways. If you find that a little bit challenging, there's a couple of ways that we can do it to actually get that sense of air hunger a little bit more, obviously doing it. And one way to do it is just cupping the hands and placing the hands over the face. Now, some people don't like this. It's just like they feel restricted anyway. So again, I want to really stress that this is not about feeling uncomfortable. If you start to feel uncomfortable, stop. But this is a really good way. I'm going to take my glasses off, because what is happening here, and I'll take my hands away from the mouth, you can pop your hands over the face like that. You can create as much space as you want, and just breathing naturally. And what is happening as you are breathing with the hands over the face is you're breathing out carbon dioxide. Now that gets pooled in that space, and you're taking some of that carbon dioxide and some of the oxygen back in. So it's just giving you a little bit of a boost of carbon dioxide. And remember, carbon dioxide is not a waste gas, it's a byproduct. So it means it's created in the cell. When we have cellular respiration, carbon dioxide is a byproduct, but we need a certain level of carbon dioxide in the blood to keep the pH balance. So if we have low carbon dioxide, that's not great. If we have high carbon dioxide, that's not great. So the idea of sensing a light air hunger, but without it feeling stressful, is a really good way of boosting your CO2 without it feeling horrible, without it feeling uncomfortable. So just breathing gently in and out through the nose. You can still sense tall spine, you can still relax into the body, soften and relax into the body. Relax the shoulders. I know we're up here, so just relax the shoulders down. You can bring the elbows into the front there. And see if we can get on the edge of very light air hunger, but without it feeling stressful. We don't want to tip it into a stress response. Soft, light, effortless, rhythmical breathing. Maybe you can start to turn the volume down a little bit now. It's a little bit of a challenge, but not to the point where it creates stress. And then following 5 more breaths. Tall through the spine. you've done that, you can have another little stretch, little twist. So the idea is just to breathe, particularly in this practice, is breathe as light as possible. Light is volume, not just up here. We can still breathe a low volume of air. You can still breathe deep. Remember that. It's what most people miss. You can breathe light, you can breathe slow, you can breathe deep. For this particular practice, you're going right on the edge. I'm sensing a light air hunger, but it's not feeling stressful, and I'm still keeping it rhythmical. It's a beautiful practice. It's nice to do. It's difficult to coach, because I can't say, oh yeah, I can see you're lifting those weights, or I can see you pushing this. It's like, can you get to that edge? Can you feel that sense of light air hunger without it being stressful? One of my favorite ways I've been doing this recently, and this is just adding a little bit of control, but this I think works. I find this personally works really, really well, and certainly with clients that I've been working with, it's a nice way of doing it. And what that is, we've got 3 minutes just to finish this, to practice this before we finish, is I'll tell you first, we'll just be breathing very light and soft, but we're going to add that extra pause at the bottom of the breath. It's not a long pause, it's just a couple of beats. And you will all choose how you are breathing in and breathing out. I'm not giving you a count, but you'll follow the normal breath, and then when you get to the bottom of a normal exhale, you just wait 2, 3, and then let that breath flow in. It's a nice way of actually feeling the body naturally inhale without you having to do any forceful movement. So let's get ourselves into a comfortable seated position, tall through the spine. Remember, if we have a strong back, we can soften the front of the body. So soften into the face, soften into the eyes, the brow, the chest, the belly, the ribs. Tongue position lightly resting on the roof of the mouth. Just starting off by following that natural breath. Notice the cool air as it flows in through the nose. Really nice anchor to focus on, that cool air as you're breathing in. And then just at the end of each normal exhale, I'm not trying to breathe, I'm not forcing the breath out. At the end of a normal exhale, just stay there a couple of beats and then let that breath flow in. But every exhale, you're just extending that pause, couple of beats. Really stress it's not a hold either. It's not gripping. It's not going to hold the breath. It's like stillness at the bottom. 2, 3. Let that breath flow in. So there's still a flow to the breath. You're just waiting for a couple of beats at the bottom of each breath. Following 5 more breaths. And then again taking a stretch, a twist. Have a little bit of a shake. If you feel we need to do like a bit of more of a purging, a cleansing and clearing, you take a breath in, top up, let go. Good. Hopefully you got some sense there of breathing light, slow, deep, breathing the amount of air that our body needs for what we're doing at that moment in time. If you've got any questions, please do not hesitate to get in touch with me. If you've got any suggestions of anything you want to do in these sessions where we focus more on breath on a Monday, more on a little bit of movement on a Wednesday, then please do get in touch as well. Thanks for your time. Really enjoyed seeing you today. Have a good rest of the day, and I will see you on Wednesday. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.